guys, it's Erin, and this is my promised mid-semester grad school vlog. It is spring break. It's Friday at the end of spring break, and I have a couple of really busy work days ahead of me, and I thought that this would be a good time to film because I'm not in school, and so I'll be kind of like home and able to turn the camera on whenever, and also because you can kind of see the sort of things that people work on in the middle of the semester, because the assignments and the workloads and everything do change as the semester goes on, and you'll see that in a minute. So I have two other vlogs where I talk about grad school. I have one from the first week of my first semester, and I have one from the first week of this semester, and I will link both of those below. The one from the first week of this semester, that's number 2, I talk a lot about like what each of my classes are, and so I'm not gonna do that here. I'll sort of mention them, but if you want like more in-depth information about like the focus of each class and stuff like that, definitely go check out that vlog number 2. So one of the problems with 4 classes is that you end up at some point in the semester with a log jam of assignments, and that is definitely the case for the next 2 weeks. And so my goal for this week has been to just kind of clear as much of the logs, as many of the logs as I possibly can, while also kind of taking a break. I haven't been quite as productive as I hoped I would be, but it's okay. I'm basically in a good place as long as the next 2 days are really productive. So this is what's kind of like what I'm working on. I have a short paper due on Sunday. I have on Thursday a like 10 to 12 page annotation project due for my poetry class, which I will talk more about. I have 2 presentations, one in one class and one in another class, and then I have a prospectus due for one of those classes in which I also have the presentation, but the prospectus and the presentation are going to be on the same thing, so I'm kind of like, all the work that I'm doing is gonna turn into 2 things, which is good. A prospectus is a kind of, here's what I want to write about for your final paper. When you have a really long final paper, so like more than 20 pages, a lot of times your professors will ask you to write a prospectus in the middle of the semester so that you can start working on doing the research, because you really need to start this early, and so that they know that you've started on the work and you're thinking about it. So it's not like set in stone, here's exactly what I'm gonna do, because you'll continue to read and you'll continue to like find resources and get new ideas and stuff, but it sort of forces you to start working. So that's like 5-ish pages, and then a bibliography, like, so here's me writing out kind of what I want to talk about and why I think it's important, and then here's the resources that I've found so far and why I think they're useful. So that's one of the things that I'm working on, and for that and my presentation, which is, like I said, on the same topic, I am reading through these books. Also another one that's in my backpack that I forgot to grab. I also read a play earlier this week for this. I'm talking about the Elizabethan stage and how some of the problems that the way that the stage companies worked show up in the actual plays themselves. So I don't have to actually like have read all of these books, but I need to have read enough of them to know whether they'll be useful or not, and the kinds of things that they're saying, so that I can again like kind of talk about that in my prospectus. So I'm sort of towards the end of that. The prospectus isn't due for a week, more than a week. Whoops, that's got coffee on it. And I have other things due sooner. So the other kind of physical thing I'm working on right now is I'm reading this for one of my classes. This is Pierre by Herman Melville. It's his last novel. It is super weird. I've just been kind of like reading 50 pages or so of that every day, and I have to have that finished before Tuesday, which is when the class is. That class, I also have a presentation due in, not this coming week, but the next week. I've done some work on that earlier in the week, and at this point I'm at a pretty good place. I knew that presentation was coming, and I had a lot of, like, I needed to do a lot of the work early for reasons, And so I am actually in a really good place with that, and I'm probably not going to work on that until next weekend, but that is coming. It's just sort of like in my head still. I'm waving my pencil around. Then I also, like I said, I have a paper due, and so that's what I'll be working on this afternoon. This morning I'm going to sit down and I'm going to read it up here, but I'm going to read through like a chapter or so of each of those books. I think if I can get just like one more chapter done of all of them, I'll be in a good enough place. That paper is going to be short. I'll talk more about it when I get to it. It's like 6 to 7 pages, but it's theory, which means that I have to work harder at it than I would a paper about Shakespeare or something. It's just a little frustrating because as far as like priorities go, it's kind of low on the totem pole, but as far as urgency goes, it's like at the very top. Oh yeah, so one of the things I wanted to talk about is the like priority urgency conflict, I guess. A couple of weeks ago I made a flow chart. I'll put a picture of it up. This is my fancy flow chart. When you are taking a lot of classes, and usually you take more classes toward the beginning of your program, if they taper off at all, you're not taking, every class that you take isn't in your subject area, the field that you are going to dig into and specialize in once you get to like your exams and your dissertation. So what that means is that you have to learn to prioritize. So last semester it was easy. I didn't have any classes in my field, and so I could prioritize whatever was due soonest. So the most urgent thing was also the most important. This semester it's a little harder because I have 2 classes in my field and 2 classes that aren't in my field. And so that's a lot of classes. And sometimes that means that the thing that's most urgent is not the thing that's the most important. And figuring out how to do the urgent thing like well enough that I'm not like shirking that while also focusing more of my attention on the thing that's less urgent but more important to me is been kind of tricky. And this this weekend is maybe going to be the most challenging weekend as far as that goes, because I need to do a lot of research for my poetry project. That just takes time, but the time that I would really rather be spending doing that, I need to spend writing my paper. So that's just frustrating and stuff. But one of the ways I'm kind of like nodding towards yes, these things are more important is like, for instance, starting my day off with this. So that will get the kind of like a freshest part of my brain. So it's almost noon, which means it's been about 2 hours. And in that time, I read Acts 3, 4, and 5 of A Midsummer Night's Dream, which is one of the texts that I'll be writing about and presenting about. So I needed to get it done early. This is just such a fun play. If you have the opportunity to read it, I would definitely recommend it, or find a production of it online somewhere. It's sort of absurd and ridiculous, and you can't think about it too closely because it doesn't actually make a whole lot of sense, but that's like kind of the point. It's A Midsummer Night's Dream. It's supposed to be kind of absurd and ridiculous, and it's so pretty. If you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen this before this video, because I will have taken at least one picture of it because it's just so pretty. I also read about 20 pages in one of these books. This one is called Rehearsal from Shakespeare to Sheridan by Tiffany Stern. So I'm gonna have lunch, and then I need to work on my paper for the rest of the day. Okay, I might have taken a nap. Now it's 3 o'clock. That's okay. I thought about it and I realized that I always kind of get like post-lunch fatigue slump, and usually I just drink more coffee, but since it's spring break and I'm at home, I decided that I would just lay down for a little while, and I do actually feel better. And so I think that even though I lost some time, I feel clearer mentally and not quite as like tired, obviously, since I slept. And so I think that'll actually help out in the long run for me to stay focused for a while. So for the rest of the day, I am just gonna work on my paper. With this kind of assignment, I'm learning that it's not the sort of thing that I can do here and there. It's really the kind of thing that I have to like sit down and be super focused on, because after a little while I get kind of like tired and I don't really want to like do the work anymore. And if I let myself stop, then I like don't get to this place where I have to like push through that, and that's usually pushing through is where the good ideas come from. So I just have to like do the work. So I'm gonna do that tonight. Basically I'm gonna work on it until either I have a rough draft that I feel pretty good about, or until I just like can't think anymore. Usually in a class you have either like 2 longer papers that are, I don't know, 12 to 15 pages, or you have 1 really long paper due at the end of the semester. And technically in this class, it would be one of those classes where you would have 1 really long paper, but the professor recognizes that that's hard to do for theory, just to sustain a really like coherent and intelligent argument about this stuff, because it's so deep. It's kind of like the literary side of philosophy, and even like into philosophy. It sits on the boundary between literary criticism and philosophy. It's hard, guys. It's really hard. And so she gave us the option and encouraged us to take this option of writing 4 shorter papers. So they're 6 to 7 pages, which like for a grad school assignment, 6 pages really isn't very much, but for a theory assignment, 6 pages is hard. So I'll probably have spent, I don't know, somewhere between 10 and 20 hours working on this paper before it's done. I have 3 pages of kind of like notes and thoughts and ideas and stuff from my own notes. Page numbers to look closely at. So the way I'll start is by looking at the two texts that I am talking about, this one and this one. I have some tea, I have some cookies, I have a candle burning. You can see into my kitchen. The lighting in this room is very strange. I don't understand it. It's 5:30 now. I've been doing an okay job at working. I am rereading my source text, so I've already like reviewed my notes and kind of thought about what I generally want to talk about, and now I'm going back to the stuff that I'm writing about, and I'm looking at like what's actually in it, which is always useful to do. I don't have to do it quite as in depth when I'm writing about like a short story or a poem or a play or something, like with a story in it especially, because I just tend to remember those things more naturally. But it's always a good idea to look back. With criticism and stuff like this, I tend to remember it less thoroughly, and so I have to like actually reread it. So I've been doing that, and it's paying off. The people that I'm talking about have more in common than I thought they did, and there are some like definite links between them, and since I have to talk about how there are links between them, that's a good thing. I took a break to just go walk to my mailbox to get outside. That was nice. And I actually had a book. This is for school. All of the books that I am currently acquiring are for school. This is the York Mystery Plays, a selection in modern spelling. These are medieval plays about the mysteries. This is really written in. That's annoying. It's not written in often, but it's really annotated. That's always annoying. I don't actually mind annotations very much, especially if they're discreet in a used book, and most of the books I buy are used, so it's just a, you know, side effect of buying used books. Hello, it is 8 o'clock. The light is doing weird things with my glasses, so now I have like a warrior stripe across my face. It's great. I turned on my playlist, which I should actually pause. Hang on. Don't want to get yelled at for copyright infringement. I turned on my superpower playlist, which is mostly just a bunch of the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit soundtrack music, with some other movie soundtracks thrown in. And it worked because I have now written a page and I think I have a thesis. So the magic playlist. Good morning. The allergies are strong with us today, so my eyes are all blinky and I'm really stuffy. And don't mind my breakfast plate on the counter. I haven't stood up since I ate breakfast. But it's 11 o'clock now. 11:40. I didn't sleep late or anything. I just like have been sort of dithering around for a couple of hours. I am not doing a good job at the whole focus thing. I think it's because I feel like this paper is not the most important thing that I need to be doing, and so the fact that I have to work on it instead of the things that I feel like are more important is making me kind of anxious, because I feel like I'm wasting time by working on the paper, because it's not the most important thing, and the assignment I have on Thursday is a lot more important, and I am not nearly as finished with it as I would like to be. Not that I was expecting to be finished with it, but I was like, I wanted to be a lot further along, and I need to do well on that project because it's for one of my early modern classes, and so it like matters with a capital M. Is just like screwing with my concentration, which is really annoying. And I know like everything I just said is super dumb. Like if I sat down and finished the paper, then I could start working on my project, and like I know that in my head, but that's just like not how my brain works. So stress and procrastination is a real thing. I share that. Maybe you also identify. At any rate, we're not like little paper writing machines or anything. So honestly, my biggest challenge for today is going to be to kind of like settle down and get focused, and then once I do that, I should be fine. I'm very busy. The next like week and a half, those are gonna be long days, most of them. But once I get through like a week from Tuesday, I'll be good for a couple of weeks. I won't have anything major due. Now you can see my lunch plate. It's 2:30 now, so this was kind of like I was gonna work until 2:30 and then I have to get ready to leave. And I am actually feeling pretty good about where I am. So I was probably right in that like I had a better sense of what I was doing than I kind of like cognitively or consciously like was aware of. So I have written like a pretty solid 3 pages. So I'm halfway to my minimum and I kind of know where I'm going for the rest of it. The way I tend to write, I'll like write the whole paper and then I usually go back and I change my wording, and sometimes like by the time I've gotten to the end of the paper I have new thoughts, so I like go back and work stuff in. I might also rearrange the structure of this a little bit. I'm writing it in a way that like kind of makes sense in my head, but I don't know if it's the most sophisticated way that I can express it, so I'll have to kind of like see. So those are all things though that I'm going to worry about later. I do think that probably I can finish the paper in another like hour to an hour and a half. I'm also finding that I really like I'm good at sitting down and focusing on this kind of work for like an hour, and then I'm just like done. So that's just an interesting observation. Also, I've been using, so I have this playlist, I mentioned it last night I think, that's just like a bunch of soundtrack music, and I pretty much only use it when I really need to concentrate now and I'm like struggling, and it's been working really well. So I don't like, if you find that you have a hard time focusing, it might be something to try. The music with words is not useful at all. It's actually like super unuseful. In fact, there's a couple of songs in there that have words that I need to take out because I've noticed that they like break my concentration. But something about the like consistent linking of this music with doing work has now kind of like over a really long time, like since undergrad, so like we're talking 10 years here of like this music with focused work has now paid off to the point where I don't listen to the music unless I need to do focused work, and so therefore my brain goes, oh, it's time to be focused now, and then I actually focus. It's great. That was really rambly. I don't know what I'm doing. The natural lighting in this apartment is so weird. I know that's like, oh, random theme of this vlog, but it is. So I got my bookshelf. It got delivered while I was gone. My appointment, which was a massage, by the way, went well. I feel weird talking about like how I get massages every month because it feels like incredibly decadent and whatever. But I found room in my budget for it, and I find that just doing that every month is not only like an important self-care kind of thing, but actually like helps with the muscle tension and stuff from just like what I do, which is sit in a chair and stare at a computer or a book or some notes like literally 7 days a week. It helps keep the headaches down. It's just like all around a good thing and something that's important for me. So anyway, I do that. I got the bookshelf. Beep. It's not a huge one. It's gonna go where that cube thing is now. I don't think I'm gonna have time to put it together today. We'll see. It's not so much putting it together, it's like dealing with all of the stuff on that bookshelf. It's become like the place where I throw things. So I have a cup of coffee. It's a latte. I'm hoping that it'll just help me kind of wake up a little bit because I'm sort of sleepy now after getting a massage. And wake up a little bit, finish this paper. I forgot to move my lunch plate, but whatever. So it's 8:30. I have worked pretty solidly for about an hour, I guess, which means it's time for a break apparently, because I can only work in 1 hour chunks. That's how this paper's going. I have 6 pages of stuff. It's mostly good stuff. What I need is to pull the thread that connects all of the stuff, and that's tricky. I have to get, like with any paper, it usually ends up at this place where like I have all the stuff down, but I haven't quite like shifted it into alignment with like a major thesis and everything. So that's kind of like the next step. But I feel like I need to take a break and let this all kind of settle in my head before I continue to work on that. So what I'm gonna do now is put my bookshelf together. Yay. While I was heating up my dinner, I moved the bookcase that was in that corner. Can you see it? I don't know. Yeah. And now the stuff's all over the floor and everywhere. And so I didn't think that through very well. I was like, oh, while dinner's heating up, I can't really do any work because I have to keep stirring it. So I'll move my bookshelf. And I did. And it was easy, except now the like entire dining room is a gigantic mess. And I need some place to put all this stuff. So I'm going to put the bookshelf together. Hopefully it will only take about half an hour. Fingers crossed. It is an IKEA bookshelf. There are 7 million parts. We'll see. I won't like decorate it or anything pretty, but I would like to get all of the piles of books put on the shelf today. Well, it took an hour instead of half an hour, and I mostly just tossed the books that belong on there. It is not like decorated and pretty officially. And also I have to do something about that cord. But I finished it. I'll give you a full view tomorrow. Basically the top shelf is my school TBR. The bottom shelf is my like personal reading TBR that I haven't touched in a long time. The middle shelf is going to be for like library books and maybe my record player. I haven't decided yet. And then at the very bottom there's one more shelf where I put other stuff. And then it's sort of tippy, so I don't really want to put anything but pretty things on the very top. So that's what it is. Now I have to go back to my paper. Hello. It is about 3:30 or something. I don't actually remember. And I finally finished my paper. Oh my goodness. So I worked until about 11:30 last night, and then I was just kind of done. And so I went to bed. And then I got up and I went to church this morning, and then I got home about 12:30, and I worked, I guess, for about 2.5 hours to finish the paper. I think it's okay. The professor's asking us to write in a way that I'm not very familiar with yet. So my last paper I actually didn't do great because I got the form wrong. Like, my comments were okay, but I got my form wrong. So I'm hoping that the form of the paper, the way that I wrote it, is closer to what she is looking for. And yeah, fortunately she's a very generous grader, and so she's not gonna like fail me miserably if I get this one wrong, but like I might not get as good of a grade as I got last time, because she's kind of like, I gave you a pass this time because I know you don't know what you're doing, but now you need to know what you're doing. So we'll see. I turned it in. I don't think there's any mistakes in it. I had words that I arranged. Sometimes it's just what you gotta do. It was due by 5 p.m. and I was just like at the place where I could maybe have tinkered with it a little bit more, but I just didn't have time. So, the end. Now I don't really know what to do. So I need to go to the grocery store, actually, and I might do that now, before I'm like starving, and because that's never a good idea. I also need to keep reading Pierre. I'm about halfway through, almost, not quite, and I need to finish that by Tuesday, so I need to read like a good 80 pages of this today. And then I also need to start or continue to work on my poetry project. So that's kind of what I'll be doing for the rest of the day, reading Pierre, going to the grocery store, and working on my poetry project. The poetry project, I feel like I don't need a ton of brain power for, and honestly not Pierre either, because I'm just reading. I'm still just researching at this point, so I don't know. It's just gonna take a long time. So I might save that for after dinner and just kind of like do the research in front of the TV while I'm kind of like chilling out a little bit. And that might be what I do. This is like one of the hardest parts about grad school, honestly. Deciding what you do when, and then, yeah, when you're wrong, it's a problem sometimes. So I'm going to the grocery store. Bye. Hi, me again. So I have done some things tonight. I went to the grocery store and then I got home and I was just like super tired and I did not even feel great. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna lay down for like 10 minutes and sort of recover my equilibrium. And then I took an hour nap and I actually feel a lot better. I'm a little groggy, but that's okay. And it's been like 2 hours since I woke up. So I had dinner and I've been doing some research. I realized that for my poetry project, we could use book chapters and not just articles, which might be my saving grace. So I went through the library's catalog and I made a list of potential books to check out. And so tomorrow morning I will go to the library and I will kind of skim through those really quickly and see if there are any of them that have anything that might be useful to me. I'm really hoping there are, because if not, then I have to go back to square one basically, and that's gonna be a problem. So anyway, fingers extra twisty. So that was kind of my like research part of the night, and since the next thing I need to do is go to the library and it's 9 p.m. The library's actually open. I could go, but I'm not gonna go to the library at 9 p.m. I'll do it tomorrow. So I'm gonna stretch. I have remembered, I always do this, that even if I'm not actually working out, and honestly, like, I'm so tired at the end of the day that working out even for like 15 or 20 minutes is just a lot. And I'm actually pretty active. I walk usually about close to 2 miles and I'm up and down stairs all day during the week, and so that's not like horrible. I could be more active, but this semester especially, I'm just like picking my personal battles, and exercise is one of the ones that is sort of like hovering over there. But stretching makes a really big difference. I use the Naturally Sassy online workout program. I think it's fantastic. Sassy is a lovely human being. It's affordable. The workouts are super effective, and most of the videos are like between 10 and 15 minutes long, which is actually pretty doable when you have the energy for it. Then she also puts together a monthly mix. So if you want like a 45-minute workout that's like focuses on different parts of the body and you don't want to think about like what kind of videos you're gonna do today, it's right there. You just do the Monday workout and it's great. But she also has a stretching program that I just think is fantastic, and it really, really makes a big difference, because one of the kind of like biggest physical detriments to this kind of life is the fact that I sit a lot and I stare at a computer a lot and I'm reading a lot. So especially like my upper back and my neck, there's a lot of tension there, and when it builds up then I get migraines and that's not fun. So anyway, I remembered again that I really need to stretch, so I'm trying to do that. Every day is not practical, but if I can do it 3 or 4 times a week, that I think will actually make a big difference in the way that I feel. So I'm gonna do that now. That was a really rambly way of getting to this point. And then I'm going to read Pierre for a little while. Since I had a nap, I'm hoping that I can stay up a little bit later than I was originally intending to. And then school starts again. Oh boy. I was sort of hoping that I would feel more together and well rested at this point in the month. I don't. It's fine. It's fine. I really think if I can get through the next 2 weeks, basically, April will be a chiller month in that I don't have as many things due. Like I will be working on final papers and my homework, of course, which is a lot, but just it's the extra stuff that I have due that just kind of pushes me over the edge. 2 months from today, I will have been done with school for a couple of days, so that'll be nice. Oh, also, just random, I've been group texting with my cohort all day we finally got to the point where we missed each other, I think. Somebody figured out that we were able to see which class we've been assigned to teach next semester. We're all teaching the same course. It's the like freshman English, kind of like English 101 equivalent. It's not called English 101 at my school, but that's basically what it is. And so in the like course system that the students see, we don't, like, our names aren't on that list. Most of the courses just say instructor, but we have a faculty view where we can see the course that we've been assigned, the course time that we've been assigned. And so I have an 11 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, and that's exciting because it is not an 8 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. It sounds like most of the graduate students teach a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class. Yeah, 11 a.m. is great. I should be able to not have to get up ridiculously early, and I'll be able to get my act together a little bit and before the class starts, and then I'll have pretty much the whole afternoon. I don't think I'm gonna have a Monday or a Wednesday class, so I'll have like the whole afternoon free to do my own work, so that'll be great. Exciting things are happening. So I'll talk more about that in a different vlog that is more like, you know, that's fall semester. We'll get there. But I'm excited. I miss teaching. I like teaching, and I am looking forward to that kind of change. Also, the fact that we are taking 2 classes instead of 4 will be fantastic. Yeah, so since I'm just gonna stretch and then read for the rest of the night, I think I will end the vlog here. It'll probably be maybe even a couple of weeks before I get this posted, but I will do my level best to get it out. But again, like the next 2 weeks are gonna be really busy for me, so we'll see when it shows up. Future me, I'm sure, will be commenting on the screen something. If you have watched this whole vlog, thank you so much for letting me entertain you with my life and my stress and my paper writing. As usual, I would invite you, if you have any questions about my writing, not my writing, if you have any questions about anything that I've talked about in this vlog or just grad school in general, definitely leave them in the comments. I have been getting a handful of comments on my other vlogs, and I will answer them briefly, but I'm also going to collect them, and sometime like at the beginning of the summer I'll do some kind of like Q&A video where I kind of like discuss the answers to the questions in more detail, kind of like comprehensively, so that different people can see what, you know, everybody's sort of wondering. I think that will be useful. So let me know if you have questions or comments or whatever. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching this vlog all the way to the end. You are fantastic, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.